when we're in a state of peacefulness and having sensations attuned, interoception, we're aware of how the body feels. That's the ventral vagal complex, where we're not in fight or flight or freeze. But then if something happens, like a leaf falls on your head, or a person says something to you, or there's a thought about self-image that's not flattering, then the homeostasis begins to be lost. The vagal ventral complex diminishes and the fight, flight, or freeze starts to take over. And then we have some kind of motor plan that's going to bring us back to homeostasis. For a simple organism, it's like get out of the light, get into the light, get the food, get away from something. We're more complex, but it's the same mechanism. We're believing that the key to restoring homeostasis is some external change or some modification of the self-image. So the movie that our Precunious plays for us about how we are makes us look good. If we're not afraid to look at that movie, if we feel unconditional self-love, then we want to look at that movie and say, am I coming across in a way that, or am I expressing myself in a way that is indicative of fear, anger, desire, resistance, judging, seeking control, some level of fight or flight? If that's happening, it means I haven't sent myself enough love. And so you want to look then for stillness. You want to feel the breath. Because there can be a constant impulse to get somewhere else, which doesn't let you stay present. And so, since you are present, but your mind doesn't want to be present, again, homeostasis is disturbed. But the linchpin is the self-love, because if you have the self-love, then you don't need to get somewhere else. But you have to be willing to look at the movie and see if, while there is self-love, there is some indication that there really isn't self-love, that it's conditional in some way, that it's being lowered, the level of love is being lowered from the prior moment into this moment because you haven't achieved something, you haven't made progress, or because your intentions aren't pure. Or you may be making progress, or your intentions are good, but then your self-worth, self-love is dependent on maintaining that. So it's not coming from emptiness, it's coming from a story of conditional self-love. Now, some people may fear just giving themselves unconditional self-love, that they will do wrong. That's why you look at the movie. You look at the movie in your head to see if you are. And if you are, you change your actions, you change your sentence. Maybe you apologize, maybe you have to forgive yourself. There may be something you need to do, but ideally you just go back to sensations, back to being present. You begin to question some of the assumptions the mind made about what you needed to get or remove or keep. Because if you can get into the stillness, then you realize, well, that's the only thing I really want to keep. And you see that all the other stuff that you were chasing after or running away from was a compensation for not being able to keep the silence, or an excuse to get you to move away from the silence. Sort of a chicken and egg thing. But you don't need to resolve that paradox. You simply come back to the stillness. Because ideally you stop moving not because you're exhausted. Ideally, you stop moving because you're going towards peace. You've seen a value in the stillness itself. You could keep going. You could keep chasing after something or running away or trying to hold on to something. You could do that. You've got the energy for it, but you realize that it's stuff, and stuff is never going to lead to unconditional self-love. So you go into the silence, you go into the unconditional self-love. If anything comes up that tells you you have to be somewhere else, you bring the silence to that.